Welcome to the Raw State Podcast. Raw, unfiltered, real oilfield talk. The Raw State Podcast.
Welcome to the Raw State Podcast. I'm Chris Eli. I'm your host, and we have today with us is Jeff Kennedy of Roseland Oil and Gas. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate you guys, and glad to be here.
Jeff, it's been crazy the last few days. So, for the listeners that don't know who you are or what you guys do, tell us what Roseland Oil and Gas does.
We produce oil and gas trade shows in most of the Texas, Louisiana shale plays. We do shows in Midland, San Antonio, Shreveport, and we do a show up in Oklahoma City as well. We also do online advertising through our bi-weekly newsletter. We do e-blasts for companies, and that's about what we do.
This COVID thing locking everybody down in their homes and striking fear into the hearts of people. I know that the events section is taking a huge hit, and not to mention oil and gas prices, but kind of tell us what's going on with that space.
You know, it's funny. You know, when I was looking at my calendar coming out of February going into March, it was crazy. We didn't know how we were going to get everything accomplished. You know, we had the Bynum School Golf Tournament in Midland. We had over 500 players scheduled to be in that tournament. We had the West Texas Oil and Gas Convention in Midland at the end of March. And then we look up, and here we are at the end of April, and we've not had an event yet. And our calendar's kind of gone. So it's been a little weird for us, just because, you know, we got hit with the coronavirus, and then we got hit with oil prices all at the same time. And, you know, when the governor came out and said that we were on lockdown and there could be no events, can be groups of people, of more than 10 people or whatever it is, you know, it kind of just locked us down completely. And, you know, we had to postpone our golf tournament. We had to postpone the show, and we can't even set a future date for those events right now because we just don't know, you know, when things are going to be opened back up to us. And just as an assurance for anyone that is listening, we will have those events. It's just, you know, a matter of when we're allowed to. So we, you know, it's hard for me to say just in clear terms when we can have those shows, you know, and that's the scary thing for us right now is there's absolutely zero income because, you know, you can't do advertising for companies because they're not spending any money, and you can't do an event for them because they can't go anywhere. So, you know, it's been tough, and we're still trying to figure out how we're going to approach it when we are able to do these things, you know.
Yeah, that's got to be really frustrating when I know that a major portion of what you guys do is like planning, you know, pre-planning stages for events, and all of this has got to be completely disrupting what you guys are normally doing. So I guarantee it, you guys are in uncharted waters with this thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. You know, we'd spent so many months leading up to the Shell Energy Resources golf tournament plus the Roseland show. We spent so many months building up the excitement for those events and doing the advertising for the participating companies that, you know, we can't just stop now and go, okay, well, the governor's opened the state back up. Let's do an event next week. It doesn't work that way. You know, we've got to put it far enough out now to where we can build that excitement up again somehow. I mean, we don't even know how we're going to do that because there's so much doom and gloom, you know, in the industry that, you know, it's kind of like, how are we going to approach companies possibly going bankrupt about doing a trade show or attending a trade show or sending their guys out to a golf tournament? How do we even approach that, you know? And I don't think anybody has an answer for it, honestly. And I mean, that's just, we've got to wait it out and hope that, you know, things correct themselves pretty quickly just so we can have a shot at building that excitement back up and and getting people to look forward to doing an event again, you know?
Yeah, it's got to, man, it's just flipped you guys over upside down. What do you think? What's your thoughts on how people are going to react coming out of this as oil field service companies and stuff? Do you think that, if let's say the governor opens things back up and it's business as usual, I guess as we could call it, do you think that you go back to just square one and start working on events again, or do you think it's going to change the way people think from now on?
You know, I think it's going to, I think, looking at it from a trade show perspective and golf tournaments perspective and anything to do with advertising and networking, I think it's going to be a little different. I think we're going to have to really look at how we produce our events. I think we'll have to do some modifications on pricing. I mean, Roseland has been very competitively priced through the years with our booth space and our advertising. So I don't think we'll have to adjust much. But I think we're gonna have to, we're just kind of in a wait and see mode just because we don't know what budgets are going to be like. We don't know what these companies are going to have to spend on advertising and marketing. So, I mean, I don't want to speculate on it because I don't want to sound like an idiot, but I mean, because it's not for me to say, but we've got to be real cautious on how we approach these companies. I think for the near term, I mean, we understand that companies are hurting right now, and the last thing that they probably want to do is advertise. But in our opinion and in our mindset, it's the perfect time to advertise. You've got to get your company name out there, you got to get your brand out there, and you got to keep it in front of people because you can't just sit back on your heels and hope that the work comes to you. Because I mean, I know companies have salesmen and they have their advertising, but to me, there's no better time to do an event than when things are tough. And I
Yeah.
think that we keep our pricing affordable enough to where it makes sense for companies to do our shows.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that from a standpoint of marketing and advertising, you do get these companies that kind of get the deer in the headlights look when unfortunate circumstances hit the market like they have, and they just peel back and they don't do anything. And I think that's really the worst thing they could do. Right now is a good time for companies to market, advertise any way they can, and I think that that's a good message for any companies, even struggling companies. There's ways to get their name out there and cost effective solutions to do it, but
Yeah.
I think that the event space is very unique because oil and gas, as well, better than anybody, is that we're an industry that these events matter. And they matter big time. So I know a lot of sales happen at these events. I know a lot of companies base their revenue from, hey, we're going to get X amount of sales from this event here, and man, this has got to be a shocker to them as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because a lot of these companies based this year's trade shows off of last year's budget. They budgeted for these shows at the end of last year, and they had X amount of dollars to spend on their events this year, and that money's nowhere to be seen now. I mean, and there's no events to have. So, I mean, what we've had companies that come to us and go, look, what are your plans? I mean, we've got to either have the event or we've got to get our money back. Well, are the events paid for? So it kind of throws us into a mess when all this took place, and I it's just hard for me to imagine how these companies think, honestly, Chris, because I mean, I get where they're coming from their side, and I also see where it comes from the Roseland side too. We couldn't see this possibly in October or November when these budgets were being set. I mean, there was no possible way for us to know any of this was going to happen. Um, so, I mean,
Yeah, there's no planning for
No,
this. Like,
absolutely not.
I don't care what you did before. You can't plan for this. This is just it's just so unprecedented that even guys that have been in this industry a long time have never seen
Yeah,
this.
I was talking to Sarge a few weeks back, and I asked him. I said, how many of these have you been through?" He went on to tell me, several, and told me some stories, and I look up to Sarge a lot, and I talk to him as much as I possibly can, just because he's got so much insight and he's so positive about life. But one thing that he's told me many times in the golf course, at our shows, and it's always stuck out to me. His saying is, "Be somebody," and right now it's hard to get up out of bed every morning and tell yourself to go be somebody. And I think we just got to keep that mindset, get up and go to work every day. It's we're in uncharted waters here, and I don't know. All we can do as a trade show company right now is work hand in hand with our customers, I think, and come up with a solution that works for everyone, and that if that means cutting
Yeah.
prices, if that means making our shows smaller, making them bigger, we just got to put our heads together. And, when we started Roseland, 4, 5, 6 years ago, whatever it was, we were at rock bottom, and we started Roseland in the last downturn, right in the middle of it. We struggled for a good year and a half, just struggle. We put on, a couple of shows that weren't very good. But we've got better at it. And, the Permian Basin has really helped us get better at it. But, I think we've got to go back to those times almost and see what we did right then and see what we did wrong then and put all that into play for future shows. I think that's going to be really important for us to have success going forward, with things the way that they are.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I like your perspective on kind of looking at what worked in those times, and then using that. You guys may have to come up with some kind of strategy on releasing some mini shows or something like that, just to test the waters and see where people are at. It's a really difficult situation to be in for you guys because COVID's one thing, locking everything down, but oil prices, like you said, and people don't have the money to budget for an event. It's a double
Well,
whammy.
the biggest thing, the scariest thing for me right now is, especially with our golf tournament that we've had to reschedule, is a lot of those guys that booked that golf tournament, or maybe even the people that booked the trade show, they don't have a job now. They're not even employed. So how are we
Yeah,
going to go about working with the company that probably didn't even have much to do with getting them into that event? You know what I'm saying? It's going to be
yeah,
it's going to be tricky. What about the marketing coordinator that we worked with for 3 months leading up to the show? She may not have her job now. Is there a new marketing lady? We don't have any idea. So we've got to stay in
yeah.
contact with the company and really put our heads together to make this thing work. That Midland show this year was going to be gigantic. We had over 300 companies booked. Our pre-registration attendance numbers were through the roof. We had the partnership with Oilfield Helping Hands, Katie Grimes, that's over that sector out in the Permian. She does a great job with it. We partnered with them. We were going to have the Randy Rogers band playing at the big concert, barbecue cook-off. We had, I think, 75 companies with equipment and barbecue trailers out in the parking lot. It was going to be huge. And now there's nothing. So, we've just got to totally start over basically and, put it back,
Yeah.
put it back into play.
This stuff? This stuff kind of started happening right when that black and gold bash kind of was coming out. I guess you guys were kind of ready to launch everything, right?
It was already launched. We were within a week and a half, 2 weeks of it actually being produced.
And then they started canceling these events and
Yep.
stuff because of COVID,
Yep.
right?
Yep. They put us on lockdown, and we just had to We at first just postponed it. I mean, and it's still just postponed. We're not going to cancel the event. I mean, I think we've looked at some dates in September possibly um, to be the when we're going to try to do it, but we can't set that date yet because we don't know. We've got to work around the Permian Basin oil show that's in October. Uh, we've got to just look at the calendar, see what else. I know OTC's canceled for the year. So we don't have to, work around that this time because, they were going to move it to September. So, I mean, a lot goes into this stuff, I mean, it's not like we just, okay, we're going to do a show next week and we throw it together. I mean, a lot of planning, a lot of coordination goes into these things, and it takes months and months and months to plan a show the size of the show that we were going to have in Midland. And it's a scary feeling to know that there's nothing we can do to even plan for it going forward at this point. I mean, we're just kind of stuck sitting here waiting.
Do you think that there may be, I can see people like the bigger events like OTC and stuff where they project to be, I guess the sheer size of and magnitude of the event. I mean, I can see where people would kind of want to shy away from that, but do you think that gives you guys with maybe if you start a smaller event, maybe that makes the attendance for a smaller event even better because people just are really wanting to go to an event, but maybe they are fearful of going to a really super big event.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked
Maybe
about
there may
that.
be some.
We've kind of wanted to, catch the timing just right of coming out of this deal and having our show in Midland as, this is our coming back party, or whatever you want to call it. But I think you got to be real careful just because of the oil price situation. It's it's like we said a minute ago.
Yeah,
We've got the coronavirus plus we got the oil price situation. You don't want to jump out there and go, "Hey, we're having this huge event," and these companies sit there and look at you, and go, "Are you crazy? What's wrong with you?" I mean, we're
yeah,
struggling to keep our doors open, and you want to have a party? No. So I mean, we kind of got to be real careful with that, I think, and balance it just right, or I don't think it'll hurt us just because, I mean, that's not our intentions whatsoever. I mean, but we do have a job to
right.
do, and our job is to put on trade shows in this industry, and this industry is going to come back. It's going to take a little time, I think, this time, but hopefully in the end of the day, we're still around and we're still producing good events for these companies. I mean, that's my goal in all of this with these shows is to put buyers and sellers together. If I do that successfully, then I'm successful. And it's a it's a juggling act, but I think I've done well with it. I think Roseland as a company's done well with it, and I think we'll do well with it moving forward once this all passes.
Well, I hope so. I love to see y'all's events, and I love to attend them, and even in the future, participate in them for sure. How are you guys holding up personally? You guys are locked in your house, I'm sure, like everybody else. And you got any interesting stories to tell us? I've heard people parking their sitting their lawn chairs out across the street from their neighbors and social distancing. I see some people not doing it. What's going on in your neck of the
Man,
woods?
I tell you, it's been tough. It's the good thing about the whole thing is I have a bass boat and I live in East Texas where there's no better bass fishing in the world. So if I'm bored one morning, I'll just load my boat up and go to the lake and social distance the right way.
Yeah, there you
But
go.
my kids have been out of school. I've got one that's a senior this year, so it's been hard on him. He won the state championship in bass fishing in Texas in February, and he qualified for the FLW National Championship tournament up in Wisconsin that was supposed to be held in June. So we're trying to sit and figure out how we're going to accomplish that, plus get him graduated. The school district hadn't said yet how they're going to proceed with graduation. So, that's kind of been a bummer for us. I'm sure any family that has a senior right now, it's a bummer for. But I think that group of kids will come out on the other side even better than a lot of them have, just because they've endured this, and I think it's going to make them better people in the future.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to make them. It's going to make them think about things differently than just being stuck in that old, with the blinders on. Here's the way we do things, and they're going to learn that there's different ways to accomplish stuff. So I think it's good. I think you're right on. I think that they will learn more and be better for it. And congratulations, by the way. That's a huge accomplishment. State fishing champion, man. That's
Yeah,
huge.
it's a growing sport, especially in the East Texas area, and he done well this year. He's still in the contention to win a boat in the circuit that he fishes every month. We're still trying to get that deal finished up. They got one tournament left, plus their championship tournament. So we've just been. It's kind of like everything else, just kind of on hold at the moment. And again, it sucks for him just because he's trying to get graduated and get all that behind him and get on with his adult life. But he'll get through it. I've talked to him at length about it, and it's all you can do. Hold your hand, love him, and tell him it'll be better in a few days, hopefully.
Yeah. So you guys work primarily with Oilfield Services for the events, correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
So what about operators? Do you guys have any? Do you guys interact with them very much for these events?
Yeah, we try to. Just that's who we want in attendance for our shows. So, we throw our stuff at them on a regular basis. Over the last 2 or 3 years, our numbers have picked up, getting the operators involved. And, I think getting involved with OHH has helped, getting them on board with that Midland show. Was going to really help this event this year just because a lot of people were wanting to come out for the concert and the barbecue and all that stuff. So I think we were going to see a better crowd of operators at that event. Midland's not been hard for us the last couple of years. It's come pretty easy. San Antonio, Oklahoma City, those shows have been really hard to get going. They've just been, I don't know what it is about them. They've just been tough. We did a show over in Shreveport at the end of last year. It showed a lot of promise. And I think going forward, I think there's going to be more activity in the Haynesville with these oil prices. I think companies are going to start drilling over here more and more. So we'll see. That may be, like you said a minute ago, maybe we do a small show just to get our feedback wet again. And I think Shreveport may be the area where we can do that and really put on a good, successful event, I hope. I live, right here in the middle of the Haynesville, and it sounds like things are going to pick up here. So fingers crossed that does happen soon. We've still got time. We could get a show in, over there at the end of this year sometime. So we're just going to kind of play it by ear, stay engaged and see what happens there.
What do you guys look for in a venue over in that area? Where are you going to have the event at?
We had it at the Shreveport Convention Center in September last year. And I think we had right about 100 companies inside that exhibited. We had, a pretty steady flow of traffic over the 2 days that we did the show. Always it could be better, but being the first year over there, I think that it was a successful event. It's in a great location. Um, you've got the casinos, you've got a little bit of nightlife there downtown that kind of helps draw people over there. And in this area, there's just really not a big enough convention center other than there for us to do it. We used to do one in Longview years back with Texas Classic, and then we did our first Roseland show in Longview, and it's just not big enough for what we do. We usually try to have at least 100 companies participating, if not 150, 200. So you've got to find a convention center that has the floor space, that has the nightlife that'll attract people and make them want to come over and check the event out. That's really what we look for.
Yeah, man, who would have thought that you would actually be saying that sub operators are going to start drilling sub $2 natural gas rather than oil? That's a crazy statement.
It's scary,
Normally, it hasn't been like that, right?
right? Yeah, I mean, it's usually they say $3 we can maybe start seeing some rigs over here, but right now $1.90 I'm all over it.
Goodness
It's a
gracious.
it's a crazy
Well,
world, man. I don't know what the future holds. I've being dead in the water with Roseland right now, I've just been kind of helping some customers, move some equipment, buying and selling some stuff for them, um, just to make ends meet right now. It's about all we can do. There's still business to be done out there. You just got to get up out of bed and go to work every day. That's the key to it. You can't stop moving.
yeah, you got to grind it out. I saw people looking for frack tanks, I guess, to sell for storage, but 400 barrels of oil is not much storage, and I think these guys are looking for way more than that. But God bless them. Maybe they'll drain some ponds and just put liners in them and start storing oil there.
Man, I tell
I
you,
saw a post by
from yesterday till about noon today, I was looking and I was going, I have never in my life seen so many frack tanks for sale. I've got one customer, he called me up, he goes, hey man, I've got 90 of these things up in Oklahoma. Can you move them? And I said, well, I guess I can jump in the parade and see if I can, but it looks like everybody in the industry is selling them right now. And well, see what you can do. And I was like, okay, man, I'll put it out there. And, actually 2 or 3 people have messaged me and go, hey, how are those frac tanks? What were they used for? And how much are they? Send me pictures. So, I mean, maybe we'll get a move for him. That's,
that's
again,
great.
right now I don't have anything else to do but help people that have helped me through my time in this industry. And there's a lot of those. And, that's how I've kind of built my business is just helping people when and where I can. And, right now I don't have anything better to do. So, if I move them, get a little commission off the deal, I'm good with it, and we'll keep moving forward. So, um, I,
Well, I mean, with your networking, you guys being in the event space, all these oil field service companies, and you've probably got more connections than anybody that I know in the oil field. So, um, I mean, yeah, if you should be able to connect the dots on some sales for
yeah, I
sure.
mean, that's all there, you just got to find it. And, again, it goes back to a trade show. Basically, you got to put a buyer and a seller together. And, a lot of them can do it on their own, and a lot of them, believe it or not, can't. I mean, they need a trade show, or they need an independent rep to put the two of them together to make the deal happen. And that's what I've really tried to do over the last 4 or 5 years is build these trade shows, build my database, and get as many connections as I can. Because you never know. I mean, the one guy that needs help moving his frac tank may be your next biggest customer, and that's how I look at it. So,
Jeff, I appreciate it. Anybody that needs to get in touch with you can get in touch with you on your website at Roseland Oil and Gas.
yeah, they can do that. Shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. Just I do a lot of business there. So I can always be reached there by message. My email's on the Roseland website. My email's on the Shell Energy Resources website. I'm always accessible pretty easily. So if I can help with anything, if you need help moving anything, just give me a shout and I'll do the best I can for you.
Jeff, thanks. And that's going to do it for this session. I appreciate you. Thanks and be
You too,
safe.
buddy. I appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you soon.